Good evening, everyone, and welcome to 27 Minutes right here on WJTS UPN 27. Last weekend, the annual Family Festival was once again a very big hit out at the Dubois County 4-H Fairgrounds.
You stay with the kids. I'll stay right here, okay?
It's unknown if they were the very first in the state to come up with the idea, but they may have been. And the event keeps growing year after year. For many, it's the smiles on the children's faces that keep bringing them back. And it's not just the spring air that draws families to the Dubois County 4-H ground, nor is it the furry animals. Too early for the annual 4-H fair, so just what is going on?
Lots of fun family activities.
First Steps and donations, right?
Presented by Step Ahead and First Steps Councils of Dubois County, sponsored by many businesses and organizations. As far as what's going on, we have over 50 booths with different activities and parenting information, lots of attractions.
Yes, it's the 5th annual Family Festival, and the train's trail leads to family fun in every building. There are activities for exploring, being creative, and even learning a safety lesson or two.
You need a smoke detector. Smoke detector.
It's just a fun day to come out and spend with your family and your kids.
Meeting place, meeting place, meeting place. Hurry, 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 hurry.
We have lots of door prizes that we give out randomly throughout the day. In addition to many booths have their own giveaways. One of the big giveaways is done by the Safe Kids chapter of Dubois County.
Let's get to the meeting place. Got to count heads. Hurry, 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 hurry.
Okay, right next to us, the Dubois County Fire Trainers Association has a smoke simulator set up, and then we're giving away 200 smoke detectors here today for the first 200 families that register. And the other things that we have a fire marshal kit free for every child that comes through, and also sidewalk chalk.
Fire's getting big. Got to get out.
Well, it's great for parents because then the kids can read about what to do in case of a fire. There's a workbook. A lot of this was donated by the Allstate agent out of Ferdinand, and it tells the kids what to do if there's a fire. And we also have our name and phone number if they have any questions.
We have to get out quickly. Now remember what we talked about, and remember what we promised. We're going to go home and do what with the smoke detectors? Test them. Good job.
Oh, I think it's just great for families. This year especially, the weather has been great, and it's a way for kids to, everything here's free, except for the food if they buy food. Everything here's free. There are activities for families and children, so it gets the kids really involved in things, and parents too.
Yes, one bite, and all your dreams will come true.
Our main purpose is to provide, of course, parenting and safety information, and to let parents and anyone interested in children just know what Dubois County has to offer.
We're here from Patoka Lake Visitor Center, and we've got some touch and feel activities going on and some animal tracking, and the kids are really having a good time.
Parents, grandparents, children, and volunteers took advantage of the community-based Dubois County Step Ahead Council and First Steps family festivities. The council believes that by working together as a community, program duplication and wasteful spending can be avoided.
We take him, he rides with me all the time. We use him for drug work only. He's not an aggressive dog.
Screening opportunities as they work side by side with First Steps, a statewide program that seeks to help children from ages of birth to 36 months who are at risk of developmental delays.
We'll be candy, and there is numbers in your eggs. There's papers
At the festival was another annual spring event.
Go.
One wonders if it's the prizes or all the free information that brings them back year after year. This reporter realizes lessons on sharing may still be in store for some. But really thinks it's the smiles on those little faces that keep bringing families to the annual Family Festival.
His colors.
That's his number?
Yeah.
And his name is?
Pink.
Okay.
Toni Frick, TV 27 News.
We will have more 27 minutes right after this. It's now time for today's homeowner, brought to you by Kremp Lumber Company in Jasper.
Now here's some good painting tips for you, especially if you're about to paint a large area in your house. Naturally, you'll want to use a roller frame, and a roller extension handle. This really makes the job a lot easier, and it'll keep you down off those ladders a lot more. Now, of course, when you're buying the roller pan that you'll use, buy a nice deep one like this one. Makes the job a lot neater, and it holds a lot more paint. Now, to make cleanup a lot easier, use a plastic garbage bag and just slip it right over the pan like this. Then when you finish your paint job, you can peel it right back off, throw it away, no cleanup necessary. Now, when you're buying a quantity of paint for a large area, say 3 to 4 to 5 gallons, pour a quantity of it in a 5-gallon bucket like this, and then box it back and forth. Pour some in here, pour some back in there, and mix it as you go. That'll keep the consistency in the paint from one batch to the other.
We will be right back. Welcome back to 27 Minutes. Earlier this week, Toni Frick stopped by Jasper High School where students were discussing the federal budget with U.S. 9th District Congressman Barron Hill.
Axe Day found U.S. Congressman Barron Hill and the Concord Coalition's Assistant National Field Director, Corey Davison, exploring ideas about the U.S. government's budget with Jasper High School economics and government students.
This morning, boys like to come to schools and exchange ideas. And
as representatives of similar groups, Hill and Davison both had one goal in mind.
Future. Congressman Hill and some others in Congress have been commended by the Concord Coalition.
Well, the goal is long-term. And the goal is to pay down the national debt. Now, you know, paying down the national debt is not the most exciting subject matter that we can talk about, but it's an important one because we spend about $230 billion a year in interest payments, and if we pay down the national debt, then we free up more money for tax cuts or more spending for education, or however we decide that we want to spend the money or cut taxes. So people's eyes kind of glaze over when you talk about paying down the national debt, but it's also a very important subject matter to discuss. So the goal is to start the educational process all across the 9th District in Indiana to raise the level of importance of how important it is to pay down the national debt.
On the fact that we have a $5.6 trillion national debt. And that's so much money that, I mean, it looks ridiculous on a chalkboard. It's hard to put your hands around. But that represents over $20,000 for every one of you and us.
According to Hill and Davison, assuring a better future for the government budget includes being aware of taxing choices.
On page 5 of your workbook, section 1,
students were handed a tax choices workbook where they filled in their percentage estimates as to where government revenues came from and where it goes.
in column 1 on pages 5 and pages 6, if you have pens, you want to mark it down, go ahead.
They then discovered that individual tax income makes up 64% of that budget intake, while corporate income yields 13% and payroll taxes 12%. They were surprised that only 3% of the federal government spending went to education, until it was pointed out that state taxes covered the other 93 cents of those costs.
What percentage is spent on education? How much is spent on foreign aid, health?
And they wanted to know why so much was being spent on defense, which makes up 21% of the U.S. budget.
Keep thinking. In section 2, why don't you think about where you'd like to see it go? Where should the money come from and where should the money be going?
Yeah, I found it very interesting that young people want to spend less money on defense and more money for education. I think people that are have graduated from high school or college for that matter have a different perspective, but it's interesting to me to see comments from young people that they want to spend less money on defense and more money for education.
And today the defense goes differently than it did years ago, is that correct?
Yeah, we're not fighting a Cold War anymore, so the strategy of fighting two wars on two fronts needs to be looked at, and how we spend money on defense, I think, is a very important issue as we move in to the 21st century.
Those are your priorities. What are your personal priorities for what you think the government?
The threat is not Russia. The threat no longer is some of the communist nations in Eastern Europe, because those communist nations no longer exist. The threat is terrorism.
You want to talk with people in your group a little bit, too.
During the discussion, students asked about computer terrorism and invasion of privacy issues, about aid for the family farmer, and why the U.S. government assists third world countries. While the money to third world countries may seek to stabilize the world and promote democracy, as a student pointed out, the money may not go where it was intended. Another student pointed out the debate over religion in America, where students are expected to be honest, as one student put it, but thou shalt not display the commandments, thou shalt not steal in our schools. One even noted that more spending did not necessarily yield better students or better schools.
Yeah, the Concord Coalition is a national nonpartisan educational organization, and we believe that it's just as important to hear high school students' opinions in the debates that are going on around the country as to hear anybody of any other age. And so what we're doing today is talking with high school students, then we'll go and talk with other civic leaders around the 9th Congressional District on tax day to talk about where do our taxes come from, where do they go, and what are some things that we could do to ensure a better future. One thing that the Congressman espouses that we absolutely support is trying to pay down the national debt so that our children and their children do not inherit a huge public debt, but instead inherit a better future.
What kind of future the students will see may well depend on the taxing choices going on today, as well as when they come to the polls themselves. Toni Frick, TV 27 News.
When we come back on 27 Minutes, we will check sports, so please keep it right here. One of Jasper High School's best tennis players of all time has now decided on a college this week. Senior Luke Raker will play tennis at Eastern Kentucky University in Richmond. Raker led the Wildcats to the state title this past fall with a 23-3 record in his 4-year career at Jasper. He was 91-15 against one of the best schedules in the state. Raker talks about why he chose the Colonels.
I went there over a couple months ago and had a lot of fun, and talked to the coach, and it seemed like a pretty good program, and I guess they gave me a decent scholarship, so I decided it'd be a good idea and good for my future and everything.
What's the best way to describe your game? You know, different styles of game out there in tennis, but how would you describe yours?
I guess I like to think of myself as I play aggressive, but I serve and volley, and try to do everything pretty aggressive. It doesn't always turn out the way I want it to, but that's all right.
Jasper head tennis coach Ed Yarborough talks about his star player's progression.
He got into the weights the last couple years, made himself stronger. So you really, you look at it, and he did the things that had to be done to build himself and make himself into an excellent player. And he, the last 2 years, made first team all-state singles. And his sophomore year, he was already a second team. And so he really, really has shown that progression and constant improvement, and certainly he, I think, finished his senior year as one of the top 5 or 6 players in the state.
In other high school sports, Jasper Wildcats got back on the winning track in high school baseball with some wins this week. The Wildcats hosted Indianapolis Chittard in their annual doubleheader at Rookser Field. It was all Wildcats when the day was over. In Game 1, Chittard took a 1-0 lead in the top of the first, but that was the only lead the Trojans would have all day. In the bottom of the first, Jasper scored a couple of runs. Ross Sheeter was walked with the bases loaded, while Brandon John plated a run when he grounded out to the third baseman. Jasper went up 3-1 in the second as Reggie Hayes singled. Michael Wallace sacked him to second. Later on, Jason Wolf drove in Hayes with an RBI single. The Cats increased their lead to 5-1 in the third. Neil Giesler singled. Phil Schwank walked before Reggie Hayes had an RBI single. Chittard scored a run in the fourth to make it 5-2. Jasper went up 8-2 in the fourth as Neil Giesler had an RBI triple while Hayes added another RBI single. The Trojans scored single runs in the fifth and sixth while the Cats rounded out their scoring in the fifth as Matt Kiefer drove home a run with a double deep to right center field. Phil Schwank scattered 8 hits to get the win on the mound for the Wildcats. The final, Jasper 9, Chittard 4. Jasper blew out the Trojans in Game 2, 11-0 behind a no-hitter by Mark Seger. Seger struck out 7 in the 5-inning game. Jasper scored their first run in the very first inning as Jason Wolf led off with a single and came home on Phil Schwank's single that the Trojan left fielder misplayed. The Wildcats got 4 in the second to go up 5-0. Schwank knocked in 2 with a double. Jasper also took advantage of 2 errors and 3 walks given up by the Chittard defense. Jasper then scored 6 in the bottom of the fourth inning to put the game away. Phil Schwank had another RBI single. Brandon John ripped an RBI double in the inning as well. The final at Rookser Field, 11-0 in 5 innings. The Wildcats sweep Indianapolis Chittard in the doubleheader. The Wildcats rip Princeton at Gil Hodges Field 1-0 in the Big 8 Conference opener. Jasper scored 2 in the first as Mark Sager drove in Neil Giesler, who singled, and Phil Schwank, who walked. Jasper added another run in the third as Giesler drove in a run with a ground ball to short, scoring Jason Wolf, who reached on an error. The Tigers cut it to 3-2 as they took advantage of an error and walk before 2 RBI singles by the Tigers. The Cats then started to pull away in the fifth. Matt Kiefer drove in Michael Allis with a double to left field. Kiefer then scored on an RBI single off the bat of Phil Schwank. Mark Sager then plated Schwank with a single of his own, giving Jasper a 6-2 lead in the fifth. Jasper rounded out the scoring in the seventh as they send 10 guys to the plate. Matt Kiefer had an RBI single in the inning. Mark Sager then drove in 2 with a single off the fence in left field, while Reggie Hayes also drove home 2 with a single. Jasper had 12 hits on the night. Andrew Krieger pitched 5 2/3 for the win, his first of the season. Mark Sager and Cale Canese also threw for the Wildcats. Once again, the final at Gil Hodges Field in Princeton. Jasper 11, the Tigers 2. The Wildcats will host their Jasper Invitational Tournament tomorrow at Rookser Field. The Wildcats will play New Albany in the first game, followed by Columbus East and Evansville Central. You can see both Jasper games in that tournament Sunday at 1 here on UPN 27. That will wrap up 27 minutes for this week for the entire UPN 27 crew. I'm Kurt Gutgsell. Have a great Easter weekend.
The first station, Pilate condemns Jesus to die. We adore you, O Christ.
I went to the tomb of Jesus, the one they had crucified this day 2,000 years ago. There I found this long faded inscription upon the rock, which had covered that sometimes forgotten tomb. He was a carpenter's son, working with wood in Joseph's shop. He was the son of Mary, a small boy, no different than you or I, except that he was God's son, and as such, gifted with healing stories and healing ways that led to new life for all those who accepted his touch. He was a king of kings, yet his kingdom was filled with peace and joy, not jewels and coins. He was a savior, yet he saved not his own life, but gave it up in order to resurrect all life through his love. And he is risen.